My name is Noe, and
Hi, my name is Dennise.
our topic is: should we use animal testing for drugs, surgeries, food, chemicals, or cosmetics? We are against animal testing. We're Animals in Society, Section 5, Group 5. Animal testing goes back in our history a lot longer than people usually believe. Testing on animals has been going on since around 304 258 BCE during the times of the ancient Greeks. There was very little to no public objection to any sort of animal experimentation until the 19th century. Primarily in England, the adoption of domestic pets became more popular. With this trend came to the help the development of the Society for the Protection of Animals. Liable for bisections in 1875, similar groups began to form after this. Also in England, Queen Victoria was an early opponent of animal testing, which put a lot of pressure on British lawmakers to establish laws against it. In the United States, animal testing began as early as 1948 by the U.S. space program. They began testing for aspects of space travel. After several animals, such as monkeys, died in unmanned space flights in the 1940s, the United States later established ways to regulate animal testing. Animal testing is now regulated by the Federal Animal Welfare Act, also known as AWA, which was passed in 1966 and amended in 1970, 1976, 1985. The AWA defines an animal as any live or dead dog, cat, monkey, guinea pig, hamster, rabbit, or such other warm-blooded animal.
Ethical aspects. Animal testing has been conducted for a very long time and has also been debated by many. Generally, before experiments of animals occurred, there are guiding principles known as the three R's. They were created by animal ethic committees. These serve as guidelines for science to follow. The first R stands for replaced, meaning that wherever it's possible to use other methods, they should do so. Secondly, the next R stands for reduction, meaning they should try to reduce the numbers of animals that are used. Lastly, the final R stands for refined, to minimize its overall impact on the animals being used. There are also those who completely disagree with testing of animals in any experiment, arguing that the data we obtain from animals is not always applicable to humans. They argue that those who conduct animal research are guilty of speciesism because they are justifying animal research since it advances human medicine. When conducting any type of animal research, ethics should be taken into consideration.
Animal testing has a cultural importance, and that is that there is psychological differences between humans and other animals. The difference from animal tests are not accurately to humans, and that leaves us vulnerable to the exposure of drugs that cause serious side effects to humans. Drugs that kill animals do not always get off the market and are sometimes sold. According to PETA, there is no guarantee that a drug is safe because it was tested on animals. There are many drugs that have been tested on animals that are bad for humans that have been taken out of market, such as Efrol, Oroflex, and many more, because they were causing hundreds of deaths and injuries. In 1967 and 1985, half of the drugs were approved by the FDA were removed because of its side effects. Animal lives are also at risk, and there could be other alternatives instead, such as non-animal testing that is less expensive and saves more time. Methods such as studies of human population volunteers, sociopathic in vertigo, genomic and computer modeling techniques. The The sociological importance of animal testing is that humans are harmed with the misleading animal testing results.
Current events. While some states ban animal testing, others do not. States to ban animal testing are California, New York, Virginia. Research shows that many people oppose to animal testing and believe that it is wrong. There is still animal testing that is happening today, such experiments with mice, rats, rabbits, primates, cats, dogs, and many other animals. Many of these animals are used for cosmetic testing. Products are rubbed on their skin and are tested for the toxicity. Many well-known brands still test their products on animals. Another way animal testing happens today is with drugs. Animals are tested with human medicine. FDA is an example of this. They test on animals to make sure the drug is safe for human consumption. In order in order to also make sure that tobacco products are safe for the public, the FDA tests tobacco products on animals. FDA also tests food on animals. They monitor mice when injecting liquefied shellfish into the abdominal cavities of mice, when they check for convulsions, severe pain, paralysis, and death if the shellfish was contaminated.
Our group have come to the conclusion that we are against animal testing and experimentation. Animals are used in a variety of testing ranging from cosmetic to experimentation of medicines meant to cure human diseases that animals cannot contrive. According to crueltyfreeinternational.org, yet such experiments belittle the complexity of human conditions, which are affected by world-ranging variables such as genetics, socioeconomic factors, deeply rooted psychological issues, and different personal experiences. It is not surprising to find that treatments shown promise in animals rarely work in humans. Not only are time, money, and animals' lives being wasted with a huge amount of suffering, the effective treatments are being mistakenly discarded and harmful treatments are getting through. Not only are these animals being constantly experimented on and have little success, they are treated inhumanely and not being properly cared for, resulting in death.
Knowledge of material. After having failed experiment after failed experiment, scientists and large companies testing their products meant for human consumption continue animal testing. Referencing crueltyfreeinternational.org, 90% of drugs fail in human trials, despite promising results in animal tests, whether on safety grounds or because they do not work. Cancer drugs have the lowest success rate. Only 5% are approved after entering clinical trials, followed by psychiatry drugs, 6% success rate. Heart drugs, 7% success rate. Using dogs, rats, mice, rabbits to test whether or not a drug will be safe for humans provides little statistically using insight. Our recent analysis found the study also revealed that drug tests on monkeys are just poor as those using any other species in predicting the effects on humans. We understand the logic in testing on animals, especially monkeys and primates, since they are the most genetically related to humans. The fact still remains that animal experiments are not successful when testing human medication for diseases animals cannot get.
The downsides of animal testing. Apart from animal testing being little to not effective, it's also very expensive, with all the animals needing to be cared for and fed and sheltered. Apart from that, these animals' rights aren't being protected. They are not being treated fairly and are not living in conditions that should be acceptable for any type of animal to live in. They live in little containers where they can barely move, and that's where they sleep, eat, and drink. Maybe sometimes they'll be moved to another location so they can just socialize with the other animals. But apart from that, they just live in cages their whole life. Most of the time, these animals sacrifice their lives for no purpose. Most of the times, the drugs that they are tested on for, they never hit the markets or are never approved by the FDA. And that means that whatever they did to that animal meant nothing, and it didn't really advance science at all. Informed opinion. Humans and animals are too different to trust the research we get from the experiments we do on them to be used on humans. For example, scientists have been curing cancer in mice consistently for years, but the methods used on humans or used on mice don't work on humans. Apart from that, 90% of drugs fail in human trials despite promising results in animal tests. And sometimes you won't even see negative effects on humans, but you will on animals, but you will in humans. Which means that maybe if you're trying a drug on a animal and all the signals are going green that this drug does actually work and is actually good for humans, and then you start doing human trials and you realize the side effects that it's causing, and the drug is not very safe anymore. Apart from that, these animals are experiencing lots of pain, sometimes for nothing, because they are getting injected with lots of toxic chemicals that the scientists don't even know what it will do to their body. Apart from that, they could get lotions and other acids, stuff like that, put on their skin and rubbed on it, and they have no idea what is going on their skin and the pain that it's causing them. Apart from that, it's a lot of money that they are investing in all the caretakers for the animals and all the housing for the animals and all the food for the animals for very little results. They're getting probably a 10% success rate on animal testing products, which is not helping the animal testing economy.
We're gonna show a video on how animal testing is done. This video is made by PETA, and it shows us how animals are tested every single day. As we can see in the video, it shows us how monkeys are being treated wrong. In conclusion, we see that animal testing is wrong, not just for humans but also animals. We saw through this whole PowerPoint that animals suffer the most with all this testing. They're killed. We also see that animals are being tortured, injected random things into their body that has not even been tested for them, all because and it does not benefit anyone. Animals and humans are different, and the testing on animals does not mean that it is going to work in humans. We saw this throughout the whole PowerPoint, the statistics and all the percentages that medicines tested on animals do not work in humans, and it was causing more harm to humans. And still, many companies decide that it is fine to test on animals and do not care for the animals' well-being. We agreed that there is no reason why animals should keep getting tested, and that there is no benefit to neither the humans or the animals. Even though there is still some companies that do test, there are companies that are fighting against animal testing. Animal companies like PETA, as we saw in the previous video, they are fighting every day against this type of injustice to animals.